Welcome to the CFO Strategy Brief Series, where we have conversations that help CFOs navigate complexity and become strategic catalysts, aligning financial leadership with corporate vision and operational excellence. In today's episode, we explore how CFOs can move beyond digitising old processes to architecting something quite different: AI-enabled corporate collaborative systems, a core building block of the corporation of the future. My name is Paul Hunter. I'm founder of PH Strategy and Leadership, author and designer of corporate strategy systems, including the Strategia Power BI Strategy Analytics app. Imagine your corporation not as a rigid machine, but as a living, adaptive ecosystem. One that senses weak signals, redirects capital quickly, and collaborates across a network of partners, customers, and even competitors. For CFOs, that is no longer science fiction. It is the emerging design of the future corporation, and artificial intelligence is becoming both its nervous system and its amplifier. Yet many organisations are stuck in a strategic drift. They have invested heavily in digital, but the underlying structures, decision habits, and capital models still look remarkably like they did 10 or 15 years ago. In this episode, the focus is on why that is no longer sustainable, and more importantly, what a CFO can do about it as a core building block of the corporation of the future. To bring this to life, consider an example. In Europe, the mobility sector is evolving into a network of collaborative ecosystems, where airlines and rail operators are no longer acting as isolated competitors, but as integrated partners. The real contest is shifting from individual corporations to alliances of interconnected services, competing as ecosystems to deliver seamless, sustainable travel experiences. KLM, for example, is replacing short-haul flights with purchased seats on Tail's high-speed trains. Austrian Airlines' decade-long AI rail partnership with ÖBB connects cities like Innsbruck to Vienna Airport. It also offers exclusive benefits from its car rental partner, Car-Trawler. Similarly, Swiss has extended its Swiss Air Rail network to 24 destinations in partnership with SBB. Most significantly, the Star Alliance has made Deutsche Bahn its first intermodal partner, embedding Germany's rail network directly into its digital platform for single ticket booking, loyalty integration, and seamless baggage handling. Looking ahead, it's possible that the system is evolving three critical synergies. First is mobility as a service orchestration, where alliance apps can evolve into corporate mobility subscription platforms, where a single monthly fee covers train, flight, rideshare, and metro, all optimized by AI behind the scenes. This shifts CFOs from managing dozens of vendor contracts to one system-level agreement. Second is the green algorithm. Here, journeys are routed by corporate carbon budget, automatically assigning the first 400 kilometres to rail and sharing revenue across partners based on carbon contribution rather than distance flown. Third is the lifestyle loyalty graph, where loyalty status becomes a liquid, cross-modal currency, where airline status unlocks train upgrades, station discounts, and predictive hotel bookings when the system anticipates a misconnection. Together, these layers suggest that a corporate collaborative system can do more than connect modes. It can redesign the commercial, environmental, and experiential logic of the entire journey, turning independent firms into a more intelligent organism that aims to optimize capital, carbon, and customer value across organizational boundaries. So what is the main message contained in this podcast? At its core, it is about control and stewardship, the central responsibility of the CFO. The burning platform is that many CFOs are acutely aware that digital transformation has to date largely been limited to automating existing processes or cutting them out, not reimagining the whole company. The result is large programs that change the technology stack but leave the business model and decision systems largely untouched. If you sit in the CFO chair, or aspire to, you will recognise the symptoms. Capital tied up in overlapping platforms that do not really talk to each other. Forecasts that lag reality because they are built on short histories and optimistic assumptions. Risk frameworks tuned to stable industry boundaries, even as platforms and ecosystems cut straight across those boundaries. In that world, finance spends too much time explaining the past and not enough time shaping the future. It's not a personal thing. There simply has not been a ready-made answer until now. The central question begins to shift from how do we digitise finance to how do we finance, govern and scale an intelligent, collaborative system that can still be viable in 2045. That's where the idea of corporate collaborative systems comes in. Traditional strategy leans on three lenses: hindsight, insight and foresight. Hindsight, what we think we remember about previous decisions. Insight, how we interpret what is happening right now. Foresight, how we stitch those together into an imagined future. Each of these lenses is fragile. Hindsight is shaped by selective memory. Insight is riddled with cognitive biases, overconfidence, anchoring, and wishful thinking. Subconscious or otherwise, leaders naturally reach then for alternatives. These include scenario analysis, environmental scanning, traditionally rely on forecasts and budgets, but more recently predictive analytics, that are useful, but still essentially historical. AI changes the quality of those inputs. If framed correctly, AI can continuously scan markets, customers, technology and regulation, servicing weak signals long before they show up in the P&L. They can run thousands of scenarios and stress tests on business models rather than just a few budget variants. And they can also learn from the full history of transactions and behaviours, not just from what a handful of people remember. This does not remove uncertainty, but it enables CFOs to move towards strategic foresight. A live AI-supported view of cash, risk and opportunity across the whole system, not just across a single firm. In its consummate state, it is likely a key contributor to augmented strategic intelligence. More on that in an upcoming episode. So how exactly is a corporate collaborative system defined from the perspective of the CFO? In simple terms, you can think of it as a collaboration of transaction processing entities that use platform-based services to host and orchestrate large commercial networks. Instead of a single firm defending its turf inside a fixed industry box, multiple firms connect capabilities, data, and platforms to create a larger, more adaptive system. The value of that system becomes greater than the sum of its parts, and the edges of the firm become more porous. Two structural patterns are already emerging. First is the dominant integrator, where one entity acts as orchestrator, integrating products, services, devices, and developers around a tightly designed platform and customer network. Once in, it is hard to leave. But equally, the value of how everything works together makes exit unattractive. Second is a portfolio of collaborative systems. Here, independent firms behave more like investors in multiple collaborative systems, alliances, joint ventures, and shared infrastructure across value chains. They may share data, logistics, payments, or customer access without a single command center owning everything. In both patterns, digital technology has been the first enabler. AI is now becoming the coordinator, giving finance a line of sight across something far larger than one corporate entity. Let's take a second to ground this in practice. It helps to look at what some scholars and practitioners describe as collaborative advantage. The idea that a firm's real edge comes not just from its own assets, but from its capacity to build and sustain productive alliances. Classic work in the Harvard Business Review on the art of alliances highlighted that in a world of widespread partnerships, the differentiator is how well a company partners, its ability to align goals, manage interdependence, and invest in relationship-specific capabilities over time. For CFOs designing corporate collaborative systems, the implication is clear. These ecosystems behave less like static contracts and more like living systems. The strategic task is not merely to sign deals or fund platforms, but to shape the financial architecture, risk-sharing rules, and information flows that make the organisation a consistently attractive and reliable partner, turning collaboration itself into a repeatable source of advantage. To make the idea of corporate collaboration real, here is a simple composite case study. Picture a mid-sized financial services group, call it Horizon Capital. For years, Horizon ran like many traditional firms, monolithic core systems, product silos, and a finance function focused on cost control and regulatory reporting. Growth was flattening. Technology spend kept rising. New entrants, fintechs and big tech firms were peeling away profitable niches that embed finance and ecosystems-based offerings. The turning point for the CFO has a simple question. If we keep optimizing this single firm, do we actually win anywhere? Instead of launching yet another internal efficiency program, Horizon reframed its ambition to become a part of and ultimately help orchestrate a broader, collaborative system. 3 major shifts followed. First was data and access collaboration. Here, Horizon opened secure APIs, so partners could embed its products directly into their customer journeys, in return for agreed slices of behavioural and transaction data. Second was AI-enabled ecosystem insight. Here, an AI layer was added over the combined data pool. Referred to as Horizon Plus Partners, its purpose was to surface cross-sell opportunities, risk pooling options, and capital efficiencies that no single player could see alone. And third, Horizon invested in shared platform configurations. Rather than each firm building its own onboarding, compliance, and payment stack, they co-invested in modular platforms and agreed how costs and benefits would be shared. In this kind of design, the CFO's role can shift from guardian of one balance sheet to architect of a collaborative balance sheet, designing revenue sharing rules, capital commitments, and risk transfers that kept the system attractive and viable for all participants. In that kind of collaborative world, what does AI actually do for finance? Think of AI as the nervous system of the collaborative corporation. It does not replace the brain, but it changes what the brain can sense and how quickly it can coordinate a response. There are 4 practical shifts for CFOs. One from static ERP to live economic graphs. Instead of reading yesterday's static reports, AI continuously ingests data from ERP, CRM, supply chain platforms, and externally banks and other partners as well as the internet. This allows them to build live economic graphs of how cash, costs, working capital and risks move across the network. 2. From annual planning to rolling AI-assisted reallocation. Scenario engines test the impact of new partnerships, platform features, or pricing moves on cash flows and capital intensity across entities, not just inside one business unit. That supports more frequent, data-rich reallocation of capital than any budget ever could. 3. From siloed risk management to system-level resilience. AI detects correlated risks across the ecosystem, supplier concentration, regulatory exposure, compounding climate effect, and suggests hedges, diversification, or contract redesigns that no single firm could identify alone. 4. From compliance burden to intelligent controls. In heavily regulated environments, AI monitors transaction and narratives for anomalies, potential policy breaches, and emerging ethical issues, helping generate the evidence chains that boards, auditors, and regulators require, without finance drowning in manual checks. The critical nuance is governance. AI is a strategic partner, not a strategic ruler. Machines excel at pattern recognition and optimization at scale. Humans still frame the questions, set the guardrails, and decide which futures are acceptable. To design and oversee these systems, finance leaders need a different mental model. This is where systems thinking and biomimicry become practical tools rather than abstractions. Systems thinking invites you to see 3 levels of influence on performance. Level 1, broad forces you cannot control, such as geopolitics, climate change, global capital flows. Level 2, industry and market structures you can influence through collaboration, innovation, and strategic moves. From an internal perspective at level 3, it refers to capabilities, resources, and core competencies you directly control. Too many organisations still spend a disproportionate amount of time at level 3, dabble at level 2, and treat level 1 as background noise. Corporate collaborative systems ask the CFO to think deliberately across all three. Biomimicry then adds a further question. If this were a living ecosystem, how would it adapt, renew, and collaborate to survive? Nature uses distributed sensing, redundancy, and feedback loops. These are exactly the properties that AI and good information architecture can bring into your strategic and financial decision systems. If you support them and are prepared to introduce them to your world, all of this connects strongly with what we call third wave strategy. What is third wave strategy? Well, it started with the first wave, where strategy was treated solely as a strategic plan, but emerged into a concept of long-range planning. From there, the second wave of strategy evolved. It focused on competitive positioning initially, that's industry structure, strategic advantage, competitive advantage, differentiation, and later core competence leveraging. The third wave moves strategy forward, treating it as a system in a context of continuous, augmented strategic intelligence and renewal, followed by corporate-wide, continually evolving organisational regeneration. Cognition and change, one of the four key elements of third wave strategy practice, namely systemic cognitive strategy practice, enables all that to happen. There is a third wave strategy framework that provides the infrastructure. Systemic cognitive strategy practice enables the strategic thinking. That incorporates different kinds of strategic thinking that are applied at the same time, but also the subject of a previous podcast, so we won't go into that anymore here. Whilst the principles then are well established, it comes down to the development of AI, augmented strategic intelligence tools, to provide the solution. We have one underway. It's called Strategai Augmented Strategic Intelligence Tool. It's been developed to further operationalise this emerging approach for leaders of all disciplines and professions by combining live data supporting structured strategic analysis, including strategy evaluation, shaping and reviewing, scenario exploration and strategic alignment. They highlight where current trajectories diverge from desired futures and what interventions are needed across the collaborative system, not just within a single silo. Let's get down to the nitty-gritty. How might you introduce the idea of AI-enhanced corporate collaborative systems into an agenda inside your own organisation? Here are three suggested starting points. First, redesign information flows around decisions, not departments. Instead of asking how efficient are the processes we use to generate the data, which typically come along with another question, what data does finance need to report alone? Ask as well, what information do we need to make better ecosystem level decisions on topics like strategic foresight, capital allocation, resource deployment and redeployment, risk sharing and partnerships? Build AI and data priorities around those decisions. Second, build AI-driven strategic intelligence capabilities. Treat scenario modelling, early warning indicators, and strategic renewal analysis as recurring disciplines embedded in finance and strategy reviews, not as one-off consulting projects. Third, treat collaboration itself as a balance sheet strategy. Platform partnerships, data sharing agreements, and co-investments are not side projects for innovation teams. They are instruments for expanding your effective resource base, stretching market boundaries and building resilience, and deserve the same rigour as any major capital allocation. The corporation of the future may not be defined only by its legal entity or industry code anymore. It is increasingly likely to be defined by the collaborative systems it can join and orchestrate, and by the intelligence, human and artificial, that it can bring to those ecosystems. For CFOs, this is an invitation to explore a new role, from steward of a single balance sheet to a potential architect of an intelligent, collaborative corporate ecosystem. If today's conversation sparked ideas, you can explore related material and tools at phsnl.com and csosandbox.com. You can also catch other episodes of the CFO Strategy Brief Series wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for listening, and remember, strategy is not a document, it's a living system.